Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, broadcasting on Channels Television live from Lagos. Here are the stories making our headlines this hour. Bayelsa people decide as they re-elect Governor Dixon for a second four-year term. Governor Dixon attributes victory of the people to Bayelsa State, and his team promises more socio-economic reforms. Another 2,000 deportees dumped on Nigerian soil in Calabar from the Republic of Gabon. And Egypt's parliament resumes for the first time in 3 years as supporters of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi form the majority. Do remember, all our top stories can be found on our website, channelstv.com, and on youtube.com/channelsweb. You can also visit m.channelstv.com to view us live on a mobile device and download the Channels TV app for Android, iOS, and Windows phones from their respective stores. We also urge you to please interact with the Channels Eyewitness feature in the Channels TV app on the Android, iOS, and Windows platforms. If you have pictures or videos you'd like to share with us, please tap the application on your device, swipe to reveal the Eyewitness menu, and follow the instructions. Speaking of which, here are some pictures sent in to our Eyewitness portal. We begin with this one of cases of fire outbreaks. First is the incident which occurred in Ogulaha community in Delta State. Our Eyewitness reporter commends the fire service for its swift response. Next is this photo sent in from Ibafo area in Ogun State. Our Eyewitness reporter says the fire outbreak happened in this residential building. In addition, we also received this photo from Zaria in Kaduna State. Our Eyewitness reporter says the fire outbreak was preceded by a road accident involving 2 saloon cars. Away from fire outbreaks, our next photo is from Enugu showing a young man hanging dangerously on a commercial bus along the Port Harcourt-Enugu highway. Our reporter calls on law enforcement agencies to arrest those involved in such acts. And we'll end with this one. A photo sent in from Mambila area in Taraba State. It shows this overloaded truck trying to wade its way through this riverine area. Thank you for sending in those pictures, and please keep them coming. And now we take you to Yenagoa, Bayelsa State, where our political correspondent, Shoma Kimbaloye, is standing by to speak with the governor-elect, Dixon, on his election victory.
Hello. All right. Welcome to Bayelsa State, Yenagoa, where we have the governor joining us on the News at 10. Thank you so much for joining us on the News at 10, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much for having me.
And I must say congratulations on the victory of your election.
Thank you very much.
Let me first and foremost ask, how does this come to you, the victory I mean?
Well, first of all, we are very grateful for the people of Bayelsa for their abiding loyalty and trust and confidence in me and in our party and in the government programs that we have been able to execute for the past going to 4 years now. We also want to use this opportunity because I'm a man of faith. I believe that all power comes from God and God alone. I don't know about you, but that's my belief. And so I want to also use this opportunity to thank God Almighty, who has made this possible, who has at all times have enabled me to overcome challenges like this. Not just this, but several other challenges before now.
Did you see yourself winning this election?
Oh yeah, from beginning, strictly speaking, in the political sense of people coming out to vote and exercising their franchise for a candidate, there was no election. That wasn't the challenge. The challenge was the interposition of other factors, which are also critical, crucial for political victory. And now I'm a party in opposition in my state, and we had a lot of issues to contend with in areas where I have no control. I mean, that was where the challenge came from. The challenge was never from the people. I've always had direct contact with the people, and I know that the people have always been by me. Don't forget, I've contested several elections in this state, and I've always won all. All. So I knew that this one was not an election to be bothered about.
Your Excellency, you ran with a former governor, I mean, neck and neck with a former governor of the state, and of course, this in any way didn't scare you in the first place.
No. I'm the man in the office, the man who has done my best for my people, and the people know it. And I have a direct connection with the people of this state. Right. And we have a formidable team. And so I want to thank God, thank the people of Bayelsa for thinking me worthy again, investing their confidence in spite of all these hurdles and challenges, investing their confidence for renewing my mandate.
Tell me, with the outcome of this election, the APC is saying that there should be a rerun because they feel that the difference between you and your immediate opponent in this election, and of course the number of cancelled votes, is the flagrant disapproval.
I don't respond to political propaganda. I don't respond to political propaganda. Elections have been declared, elections have been won and lost, and that's it.
How would you judge the process from INEC's point of view?
Well, I believe that INEC tried to do a good job. I mean, there were lapses here and there, but I think generally speaking, INEC tried. I want to call for more support for INEC, and also to use this opportunity from my experience in this exercise. INEC needs the support of all to improve on the card reader. The card reader is the right way to go. Our nation made the right investment in it, and I think we should work with INEC to perfect it, so that you don't have all these cases of people coming with hoodlums, armed hoodlums, to hijack materials, and then thinking that they will just fill EC8A and EC8B and return for collation. Now that is nonsensical. That is terrorism. That's what is taking place. That's what has taken place. And you've been in this state. You are aware of the deaths that have taken place. Those killed by the APC hoodlums and thugs.
Those are allegations.
And those whose houses have been burned and so on and so forth. But you see, these are important issues that I think that I would like to work with the federal government to address, particularly the federal law enforcement agencies. Now, just even after the elections, we had a community, a peaceful community like Paramabri, attacked and razed down, and no arrests made. The hoodlum is known, those who sponsored it are known, and it's like that all over. Now, we can't let that happen. That can't be the Nigeria that we'll build together.
All right.
So I want to work with the federal government to ensure that peace, law and order and security once again returns to Bayelsa.
Thank you so much. We have to leave at that. But I must say congratulations once again, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for talking to us on the News at 10.
Thank you.
Now it's back to you in the studio now, Amarachi.
Thanks a lot, Shell. Let's get further analysis now on the elections in Bayelsa State. I'm bringing in Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Paul Ananabat, to join us on the News at 10. You're welcome.
Thank you.
What did you make of the election results? The PDP making 134,998 votes, and the APC candidates getting 86,852.
That remains the result from INEC. And we have no other umpire that will declare a result. And you know, in this country we have so much history of contesting results. But we must respect the umpire. That's why we spent a lot of money, including taxpayers' money, including your money and my money. So that's the result, unless it is upturned by the tribunal or the higher courts.
Now, INEC had revised the guidelines for this election, which allowed it to conduct accreditation at the same time with voting. That was not the original requirements. Could it have affected anything during the polls?
Yeah, I'd like to talk about these guidelines because if you have followed elections and decisions of tribunals and courts in this country in the recent past, you will see why the Chief Justice of the Federation talked about conflicting judgments. And it dovetails into these guidelines. The Electoral Act empowers INEC to have and issue guidelines, and they remain guidelines. Now, these guidelines are steps or guides as to particular areas and ways to ensure that the mandate of INEC under the Constitution and under the Electoral Act is carried out free, fair, and credible election. Now, these guidelines, INEC can change them. They are dynamic. They don't pass through legal process of enacting an act. Now, what has happened is that suddenly some tribunals and some courts have elevated these guidelines to become acts of parliament, acts of National Assembly, and begin to use it in different ways. Now, these guidelines, taken by us as the focus where we're talking about now, I don't expect that someone is going to say, oh, the first part of the election was by a guideline of accredit and come back and vote. Now, because this is accredit and vote at the same time, then there is an issue.
So how exactly did the guidelines affect the elections? Because you seem to have a problem with the INEC guidelines for this particular election.
No, I don't.
You don't?
But I'm explaining, being a practitioner who has gone through several tribunals over these elections.
So could the guidelines have affected the elections in some way?
Well, that is for the political scientists to discuss. But the point, I am looking at it from the legal points that INEC has powers to issue guidelines. But those guidelines are not, irrevocable. They are dynamic. They are not something that you must, they are not basis for actually challenging an election. Particularly when the Electoral Act has a provision in that respect. I give you an example because the governor, I watched the governors talking about the card reader and all that. Those are all guidelines. It does not, detract from the point that the Act has provisions for how to determine certain things. All the guidelines you get are INEC's thinking of ways and policies to help ensure that the free, fair, and credible elections are achieved. So, watch it. You may find someone going to a tribunal to say, oh, the initial guideline was not followed, the new guideline was. So, because there were two guidelines, there is now a ground to challenge elections. I think that shouldn't happen.
I want us to quickly talk about the APC candidates who said the total number of cancelled votes was more than the margin of victory, and on that basis, a call for the cancellation of the results and a rerun. How do you interpret this?
Now, the law is clear on that. There is nothing in the Electoral Act or in our election jurisprudence as the overvoting in a state or a local government. Now, the Supreme Court has taken its time to establish clearly you can only have overvoting in polling units. So you prove overvoting polling unit by polling unit. If a party, whether it's XPC or PDP or whoever, in any election, in any state, Bayelsa or any other state, believes that there's an overvoting, such person is expected not to say there's an overvoting in Bayelsa state. Okay. There is no such thing in law. What could be done is, in polling unit in this local government, there was overvoting. It is then that you can compute to know whether it is substantial as to affect the election or not. But what you see in recent times is for people to say, oh, this local government, there's overvoting. Oh, this senatorial zone there's overvoting, or this state there's overvoting. There is no such thing in law.
Paul Ananaba, thank you so much for joining us on the News at 10.
Thank you so much.
I've been speaking to Senior Advocates of Nigeria, Paul Ananaba, and analyzing the Bayelsa State governorship rerun. When the News at 10 returns, Vice President Yemi Oshibajo commends the Nigerian military for its courage and resilience ahead of the Armed Forces Remembrance Day, plus more on the Bayelsa State rerun. Please stay with us.